Max. We hammered the West region in our first video today. Now we attack the South region. All games take place on Friday, March 19th, and there are some beauties. We start out with a banger, 12:15 p.m. Eastern. Number 10 seeded Virginia Tech Hokies, 15-6 this year, versus number 7 Florida Gators, 14-9. We're at Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. See what we are dealing with here. Virginia Tech opening as 1-point dogs. About 5 or 6 of at least half the books have turned that into a pick'em. This total opened up at 137.5. It's dropped a half point down to 137. Virginia Tech lost to North Carolina in the quarters of the ACC tourney. 81-73 is 4-point underdogs. It was just their third game since February 6th and first since February 27th. Their last 2 regular season games canceled due to COVID contact tracing. Justin Mutt scored a season-high 24 points on 10 of 16 shooting. He averages just 9.6 on the year. Tyrese Radford added 20 for Tech. They shot 47%, made 8 of 18 three-pointers. You'd think 47% from the field, 8 of 18 threes, you can win that game. No, siree. Radford averages just 11 on the year. Leading scorer Keve Aluma went for 9 points, 8 boards. 6'9" junior averages 15.6 points, 8 boards. The Hokies score 72.1 points per game, 45.1% from the field, 35.7 from 3, and hit 69.7 from the foul line. Florida lost 78-66 to Tennessee in the quarters of the SEC tourney. It was their third loss in 4 games. Leading scorer Trey Mann stepped up in a huge way. He was 1 of 8 for 2 points in the first half. He ends up with a career-high 30. This guy has picked this team up after the heartbreaking loss of Keontae Johnson. He averages 16 points, 5.7 boards, 3.4 assists. Tyree Appleby added 14. He averages 11.4 points, 3.3 assists. But no one else scored more than 6 points. Omar Payne was kicked out of the game for an elbow to the head of John Fulkerson. Colin Castleton and Noah Locke also averaged double digits for the Gators, but they were nowhere to be found. They hit 46.4% from the field, 35.7% from 3, 75.7% from the line. Max, a great game to get us started. South region, Virginia Tech, Florida Gators, take it away.
Yeah, first, Jim, I have to say that this is a game where coaching is going to play a factor. And I think that with Coach Young, I think that you have the better scheme. I think that you have the better defense in this particular matchup. I'm not saying that will carry over to the next one. But with Florida, listen, with Trey Mann, he's an amazing pick and roll player. He's very good at eating those minutes. And this Florida offense is very dependent on him to score. So if he doesn't have a good game and he doesn't have that good interior passing, it's an issue. This is a guy that's going to come up with a timely steal for you. He's going to draw fouls. He's going to hit those foul shots. And any guy that hits 39% from the three-point line with his volume is something that you have to take notice of. With Florida, I think that the expectation with Tyree Appleby is that you're going to get double-figure scorings on most nights. You're going to get mostly some good ball security. But I think that with Noah Locke, he's the one that's really got to step up. This is the guy with the three-point shot that can make the difference. He's definitely an asset at the free throw line. And when he's on his game and he's defending one of the team's best players, he's a very good guard with doing it without fouling. I think that with Noah, he's got to make smart decisions with the basketball. He's got to make smart decisions when he takes shots. With this Florida team, they're very dependent on the dribble drive. And without Trey Mann scoring on those dribble drives and having maybe Colin Castleton as the roller to the net, I think that this Florida team is going to have trouble scoring the ball. There's no help defense. There's very poor recovery. They're not going to box out a lot of the time either. So on the defensive glass, they are a liability. They give up a lot of offensive rebounds, and against an athletic front court with Keve Aluma and Justin Mutz, that just really isn't going to help them. They need better second half adjustments. They have to lock down the three-point line versus Vod Tech and make the free throw line their friend. They convert on average 14 free throws a game. They got to get that above 20. I think that with their turnover issue, that's going to be a real determining factor. And if they have poor execution on these rim attacks, well, it could get ugly. So I'm looking at Vodtech here, Jim. I think that the key for Vodtech is going to be Keve Aluma. He's a solid 3-level scorer, understands the system. He's been coached by Mike Young for years. He's a double-double machine. He forces the defense to choose to put him on the line or let him score down low. And on the big stage, you get big performances from him. I think that the X factor is going to be Hunter Couture. He's definitely lesser known of this backcourt, but a very dangerous three-point shooter, 36 makes on the year, solid free throw shooter at 80%. And when given the opportunity and now having the opportunity with Jalen Cone injured, I think that this is a good help defender, and he's most likely to benefit from a takeaway. He's that guy that ends up with the ball in his hands in transition opportunities. And with Vodtech, they have an advantage, in my opinion, of about 3 to 4 points in the first half. And as long as they don't leave points at the free throw line full game, they should be able to win this spot. The way that they take care of the basketball and limit their turnovers, it's just more a matter of them, can they play 40 minutes? I think that they're going to be able to do it. I think they're going to be able to squash this reputation of tale of two halves, and they're going to play off a lot of ball screens. They're going to freaking get guys out of position, and as long as they contain the front court players for Florida, keeping Florida off the low block and allowing Mutz and Aluma to use their athleticism, even if they're playing out of position, it's just going to be too much. I know that both these teams aren't looking good right now, but I'm going with the better coach team, and I'm going with the better intact lineup, in my opinion. The ACC is weaker than the SEC this year, but in this matchup, I like the ACC team to get through. So I'm going to take Vodtech here.
Are you taking them first half and full game?
I'm actually only going to take them first half, Jim.
Okay, only first half. Well, then we have some options for you. Let me just check this final book for what they've got first half. Do you want them first half at minus 108? Sorry, let's move here. First half minus 108. Or do you want them plus a half? Let me pull this up. Where did I find it? Plus a half at minus 110.
What's the first half money line?
It makes no sense. The first half money line, it plus a half is minus 110 at BetMGM, and the money line is minus 115. So there's a clear mistake there. But and then the first half money line at Bet365 is minus 105. FanDuel, it's minus 108.
Yeah, I'll take the plus a half.
That makes the most sense to me. Plus a half at minus 110. It's available right now at BetMGM. The plus a half is minus 115 at Bet365. So let's lock that in right now. Virginia Tech Hokies, first half plus a half at minus 110 at BetMGM. A question here. Are you not going full game because Trey Mann has the most heart on the floor and could will this team to victory over 40 minutes?
I think that it's more just the inconsistency from Vodtech that I've seen. Do I really want to put my show record on the line with them for 40 minutes when they've constantly shown me through tape and watching games live that they're just not capable of doing it on a consistent basis?
Very interesting breakdown, Max. That's how Max starts out the South region. That's Friday, 12:15 p.m. Eastern, and we roll on 12:45 p.m. Eastern. This one's going to be a beauty. A beauty. The number 14 seed Colgate Raiders. We have the governor here who watches over this league very closely, and his Colgate Raiders won the Patriot League title versus number 3 Arkansas Razorbacks, a very tough first opponent. Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's see what we're dealing with from a market perspective. Arkansas opening up at minus 9.5. Money comes in quickly on Arkansas, but not at all books. You can get them at minus 9. So Colgate's at plus 9 at Sports Interaction. That's a legal licensed book in Canada and Jersey. So that's one we don't use very often, Max, but if you wanted to go that route, that's the only 9 on the table. There are 8.5s, and the leading indicator offshores have moved it to 8. This total has skyrocketed up from 158 all the way up to 162.5. Colgate won their program record 13th straight game, 85-72 over Loyola Maryland to win the Patriot League. It was another balanced effort. Tucker Richardson, 17 points. Jordan Burns, Jack Ferguson, 16 each. They all averaged double digits for the Raiders. Ryan Moffat did 11 points, and he's a not double-digit scorer. Nelly Cummings, 10 for Colgate. He does average double digits. They came in averaging over 86.4 points per game. That's tied with Baylor and second only to top-ranked Gonzaga. This is their fourth NCAA tournament. They get 17.7 assists per game. They only turn the ball over 10.1 times per game. They hit 49.8% from the field, 40% from three, 73.1 from the stripe. What a team. Arkansas had their 9-game winning streak overall and 12-game SEC winning streak snapped by LSU in the SEC semifinal as 4-point favorites. Moses Moody tied the season high for 28 points for Arkansas. High-scoring freshman averages 17.4 points per game. Justin Smith added 21. He averages 13.6.9 boards. J.D. Note, Jalen Tate also averaged double digits for the Razorbacks. Arkansas led the SEC in scoring, averaging 82.4 points per game. They hit 45.5% from the field, 33.9 from three, and 73.7 from the line. Can't wait to watch you break this down, Max. The governor of the Patriot League speaks, Colgate, Arkansas.
Listen, Jim, I love Colgate. I love the Patriot League. It's fantastic basketball. But let's not mince words here. Arkansas's quality compared to Tennessee's quality of a couple years ago may be definitely comparable, but I think that this is still a very dangerous Arkansas team. They play a free-flowing style of offense that allows guys to play positionless basketball, not a lot of set plays, a lot of freestyle, and I think it's to the strength of their players. You know, there's going to be a lot of transition offense in this game, and with them playing small ball 75% of the time by my calculations, with Moody and Smith at the 4 and 5, you know, that's a dangerous combination. That means that those guys are going to be going up against Jeff Woodward, Keegan Records, and I don't know how they defend them in that kind of lineup. I think with Arkansas, you know, they have to exploit slow-footed front court players. And with Justin Smith in this lineup, this is a different Arkansas team. We saw them without him. We've watched them with him in it. So with the way that Arkansas defense is going to switch, and they're definitely going to take that small ball lineup where everybody can guard anybody, you're going to need to also zone up on Colgate if they're taking you to the 10 or they're killing you in the mid-range. Let's not forget, aside from Moffitt, who is obviously less known but still hits 36% from the three-point line, Tucker Richardson and Jack Ferguson are essential three-point shooters. I think that when you look at this Colgate team, you're going to expect to get production from Jordan Burns. You're going to expect to get production from Nelly Cummings. But I think that when you look at this Colgate team, you know, how do they stop Moses Moody? How do they stop this Arkansas team from not going on a serious run in the second half like they've done in pretty much every game in the conference season? They're a volume free throw shooting team. They hit 8 to 10 threes in a game. You know, they could be in a route spot versus a non-SEC competition. So with Moses Moody, Jim, you know, this guy's a heart and soul type guy. He's a heart and soul type effort. Lots of minutes, lots of makes, limited mistakes when the ball's in his hand, and the way that he draws fouls on drives and is able to still finish at being a freshman. That's why I say that him and Cam Thomas are just on a different level. I think that when you look at this guy, Moses Moody, you know, he's dangerous from all three levels. You know, you just have to bring double teams on him. You have to freaking make other people beat you. And if the X factor, Justin Smith, has his way, you know, this is the guy that's transformed the identity of this team with his offensive rebounding, his drawing key fouls late, and the way that he's efficient in the paint area and works as well as he does on the interior at his size definitely shows his physicality and his strength. I think that Colgate's going to have to just hit shots. They got killer shooters. This is where you need the most. You got a lot of scoring size with Keegan Records and Jeff Woodward. They're both 6'10 or taller. They're going to have to make an impact on this game for Colgate to stay in it. I don't see how playing a really fast game benefits Arkansas. I think that we've seen Arkansas be able to slow the tempo down like they did against LSU. That line was in the 160s. I don't think it got past 155. So with Colgate, are they going to be able to replicate their shooting numbers against non-Patriot League competition? That's the biggest question. And they've left some points at the free throw line. They played some closer games than they should have. And their stats are a little stacked up because of a couple big routes, like the 50-point win against Army. I think that with Colgate, they're definitely going to be good with the ball. They're experienced. They've been to the tournament before. They're able to limit their turnovers most of the time. And if they could get lots of blocks and a lot of pass deflections from their big men, I think that they should be okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I think that with Colgate, Jim, ball screens for Nelly Cummings and Jordan Burns are a necessity. Transition scoring is going to be key to not allow Arkansas's defense to set up. And if Arkansas goes big, which is what you're hoping for, that's the best lineup that you can get with Connor Vanover and Vance Jackson getting key minutes. That's the only way that I think that you have a chance. I don't really know what to do on this game as of yet. I think that this is a spot where if you ask me now, I want to take the under, and then I want to take Arkansas full game. I think that Arkansas may not knock it down in the first half, but I think that over the course of 40 minutes with Greg Musselman being able to adjust at the half, it's going to be a little too much against this step up in competition.
Wow. Well, we can get you an 8.5. There's 8.5, there's 9s, there's 9.5. A couple books here, one of them being Bet365, hanging the 8.5 at -110 full game for Arkansas. Do you want to start there?
Actually, no, I don't, because I think that I'm going to get a better line if I wait. I think that when we talk about Colgate and we look at the numbers, we look at the net rankings, they're highly thought of right now. And I just think that we're going to get better value if we wait.
That sounds great. No problem, because all we're going to be doing is breathing college basketball nonstop. So you can add that anytime you want. We have 162.5. There's just a 162 at Fox Bet. Do you want to pull the trigger on an under here, 162.5?
No, I'm not ready to do it. I want to see the line move a little more. I think that it gets up to 165, and if it gets up to 165, then I'm going to freaking hit it. But wow. I think that this is going to get steamed. People are going to look at the numbers. The over is going to be the popular way to bet games. Who wants to bet unders in the NCAA tournament? I only know a couple. One of them is Noli Knows. The second is me, and maybe the third could be you, Jim.
Sounds good to me. Let's wait. Let's watch this climb. There you have it. Very, very interesting. Colgate, Arkansas, 12:45. We are in the South region. We move on to 1:45 p.m. Eastern. Can't wait to hear you talk about this game. 11th seed Utah State Aggies versus number 6 Texas Tech Red Raiders. We're in Bloomington, Indiana for this one. Let me pull up the market. We have Texas Tech opening up at -4.5. They're either 4.5 or 5, depending on where you shop. This total opened up at 132. We see 132s, 131.5s, and now 131s on the board. But the main leading indicator books do still have it up at 132. Utah State had their 6-game winning streak snapped in a 68-57 loss in the Mountain West Championship. Utah State's dangerous front court, we've talked about it often here on the show, led the way for the Aggies in the loss. 7-foot center Neemias Queta, 18 points, 6 boards, 3 blocked shots. He scored 12 of the Aggies' 24 first-half points. Queta, 4 of 6 from the floor in the first 20 minutes. The rest of the Aggies, just 5 of 18 from the field. Queta averages a double-double, 15.1 points, 10 boards on the season. Justin Bean, not have a good game, 12 points, 6 boards. The Aggies are very strong defensively. Offensively, they score 73.3 points per game. They get nice distribution with 16.3 assists per game. They have average numbers shooting the ball, 44.6 from the field, 33.6 from 3, 72.6 from the line. Texas Tech lost a 67-66 heartbreaker in the quarterfinals to eventual Big 12 champion Texas. Max was on Texas in that matchup. Texas Tech had won the first two meetings between the two teams, and Max thought Texas could turn the tables, and they did. Max was on Texas money line. Red Raiders were up 66-61 before allowing the last 6 points of the game. Texas Tech has 4 players averaging double digits, led by Mac McClung, who averages 15.7 on the season. And the question I have for you, Max, is will they have problems with Utah State's size? Texas Tech only has one player over 6'7". That's 7'1" Russian Vladislav Golden, who played 10 games and averages 4.7 minutes. So they don't play anybody that's over 6'7". The Red Raiders score 73 points per game, hit 44.3% from the field, 34.6% from three, and 71.1% from the stripe. And I'm just, will it, if Texas Tech plays small ball, will that hurt Queta and Justin Bean? Very curious to hear how you break this down. Utah State, Texas Tech. Let's go.
Yeah, listen, Jim, with Utah State, obviously they are going to run the offense through Queta. His footwork and his ability to pass out of the low block is going to have to get this offense going. But listen, there's just only so much the guy can do on his own. He's not the kind of guy that's going to be able to drop 35 or 40 on you in a tournament game. I think that with Utah State, their main goal just needs to be consistent shooting the basketball. And the only person that doesn't include is Brock Miller. Everybody else is definitely on alert. I think that obviously with their rim protection, it's going to be key to force Texas Tech to shoot jump shots. And listen, with Utah State, they got to be able to defend their man and not need that help defense, not take that other guy out of position, because the way that Texas Tech runs their offense and runs that motion offense is just with a lot of freedom. When Mac McClung isn't on the floor, you see a lot more of it. With McClung on the floor, you definitely see a lot more pick and roll, because obviously McClung's a beast at getting to the line. The guy's made 102 free throws already this year. He's pesky. He's good in the ISO. He can take it both ways. And you know what? He's cold-blooded. He saves those three-point shots for the second half. So I think that it's definitely going to be hard to take away and get the ball out of McClung's hand in those key situations, but it's going to be on him to make the right decisions. I think that with Utah State, if they want to have any chance in this game, Justin Bean's going to have to bring you more interior scoring, bring you that baseline offense. And listen, with him, he's got to hit his free throws. He's got to hit his free throws. He's an 80% guy. He's scored 46. Scored 110 field goals, so that freaking up and under and that hook shot works good for him. He's got to freaking go under the net. That's his best spot. That's the best spot that you're going to see him get an and one. And I think that with Alfonso Anderson, he's a 3-level scorer. He's not going to stand out to you on a lot of sheets, but if you watch their games, you do see that the defensive intangibles that he brings, the hustle plays, those loose ball rebounds that he tracks down that get counted as team rebounds, usually they're from him. This is a guy that's a great on-ball defender. He's vocal, and when you give him an open space to hit a shot, he's going to hit it. So you need your complementary pieces to come through. You need a good shooting game from this team. You need Raleigh Worcester, you need Marco Anthony, you need Stephen Ashworth. All these guys need to produce in this game. We've seen them do it, but they've done it against the likes of Air Force and San Jose State. That's why a lot of people were very disappointed not to at least see Utah State in a play-in game. I think that with Texas Tech, they are just going to overmatch them, even though they don't have the size down low. I think that, though, the combination of Micah Peavy, a Terrence Shannon, a Marco Santos Silva, they may not have the height, but they have the strength, they have the weight, they have the physicality, and they've been playing against big men in the conference all year long. So with Texas Tech, they're better in the first half. This is where they got to dominate and really inflict their style, pace, and tempo on Utah State. Win the turnover battle. That's an easy way for this team to get out and score points. And listen, attack the paint. Even if you're getting shots blocked by Dorius coming off the bench or Cater or Bean, you still keep on doing it, because eventually in the second half, the refs are going to be forced. Do we call fouls or do we let them play? And I think that in this tournament, in that matchup, they want Chris Beard to go further than they want Utah State to. I think that even if Keita gets 18 to 20 points, I think you can live with that. You just got to really stop all that action in the middle. So that's where Terrence Shannon comes in. Terrence Shannon's my X factor, Jim. He's physical. He's a low block scorer. He gets to the free throw line. He keeps defensive plays. He doesn't allow teams to extend possessions. He's the kind of guy that's also a heart and soul type guy, and he plays bigger than his frame. If he can minimize some of his mistakes that I've seen in second halves, and he can stay out of foul trouble, this could be the MVP of the game. And I got to look at Texas Tech in this spot. I got to look at them full game. I think that they are sending Utah State quickly back home. And I see this as a wire-to-wire win.
You don't want them first half, though?
No, I don't. I want to give Texas Tech the benefit of the doubt. Listen, this hasn't been the most stable team as of late, but I think that against this quality of competition, we're going to see the best of Texas Tech. And listen, Jim, do you really want to bet against Chris Beard in the NCAA tournament? I don't. I'm not going to.
Man, because there's 4.5s and a couple 5s on the board, and I found one. I wasn't even a look at BetMGM to see what they were at with the half, and they have a -2 for the first half. So I was like all excited that I found you a -2. But let's focus on the full game. So we have a 4.5 at FanDuel, 5 at Circa, 5 at BetMGM. The 4.5 at FanDuel is -116. So let me see if I can do better than that. Let's see what Fox Bet is hanging here. Fox Bet -4.5 and -110. There we go. So Fox Bet and sorry, let's move back to full game here. Is Bet365 doing the same as Fox Bet? And no, -115. Okay, the best line we can get you, -4.5, -110, available at Fox Bet.
Yeah, I'll take that. No problem. That's a good line. I would have lined this game at 7.5.
Wow.
So that's enough.
Wow. Your point about them playing bigs all year long in conferences is very sharp, of course. I think I was taking too much of this fear of what Queta and Justin Bean could do.
Listen, if he had the same kind of offensive impact as Kofi Cockburn, then yeah, but different players. Long and athletic for sure. Improved footwork 100%, but is he going to be able to use that length the way that some other quality big men do? I'm not really sure. And he doesn't have the extended range, which actually hurts him.
Without a doubt. And Justin Bean has not been hitting those. There you have it. Texas Tech Red Raiders -4.5, -110 at Fox Bet. We move on 3 p.m. Eastern. We're in the South region. Number 15, Oral Roberts Golden Eagles, 16-10 versus number 2 Ohio State Buckeyes. We're at Mackey Arena in West Lafayette, Indiana. We have Ohio State opening up as 17-point favorites. That's moved to 16.5. The first 16 is on the board now, and it's from an indicator book. The total opened up at 154.5. It's climbing. It's all the way up to 156.5. Very interesting. And let's break this down. Oral Roberts finished the season winning 5 straight games, culminating with winning the Summit League final 75-72 over North Dakota. They built a 45-20 lead and just barely held on. First tournament title for Oral Roberts since 2007-08. Max Abmas scored 23.7 assists, 4 boards. He averages 24.2 points per game, hits 43.3% from 3. 6'9" junior Kevin Obanor went for 21 points, 9 boards. He averages 18.2 points, 9.5 boards. And senior RJ Glassberg, the only other Golden Eagle that scores double digits at 11 points per game. Oral Roberts shoots the ball very well. They score 81.8 points per game. They hit 45.4% from the field, 39% from 3, and 82.4% from the line. Ohio State had their impressive Big Ten tournament run end in the final, losing 91-88 to Illinois in overtime. Dwayne Washington Jr. had a career high 32 points. He leads the team, averaging 16.3 on the year. Justin Sewing added 22. C.J. Walker, 16, 6-4. E.J. Liddell, 12, 7-4. 6'8" senior Kyle Young missed the last 2 games with a concussion. He's listed as questionable to play here. Ohio State scores 77.3 points per game. They only turn the ball over 10.4 times per game. They hit 46% from the field, 36.5% from three, and 76.3% from the stripe. Interesting matchup here, 3 p.m. Eastern in the South. Oral Roberts, Ohio State. Max, take it away.
Yeah, Jim, with this game, I think that I'm not really looking at the spread as far as for a show pick. I'm more looking at the total because there are some definite question marks when I look at this matchup from a side perspective. First off, without having Kyle Young in the lineup, he probably makes a difference, and you may have been able to beat Illinois if he had played in the Big Ten championship. And you're going to need Justice or EJ to both give you good offensive games to cover this number. And listen, Dwayne Washington's been unleashed. I don't think that you can get him back in the box, so you might as well let him roll. The emotion, the energy that guy brings, the ice in his vein, I don't even like Ohio State. They protect sexual predators, and I even got excited watching that shit. So I think that with Dwayne Washington, the guy's hit 86 threes. He's hit 75 free throws. That's good offensive production in such a deep, talented offensive team that Chris Holtmann has at Ohio State. He thrives as the alpha, and he's going to have to thrive against this Oral Roberts team because they got two alphas, and those two alphas they can produce give you 80 points in the game, 70 points in the game. We know Max Abanis, the nation's leading scorer, he can give you 40 plus. And listen, with his ability to get to the free throw line, his ability to stretch the defense at the three-point line, he rarely turns the ball over. He always takes smart shots. He really plays into the defense and really attacks their vulnerability. He plays intact all the time. He's never getting emotional. His ability to draw fouls, to extend his range, and his great release, he's just a guy that you just have to hope he doesn't put up 40 against you. He's going to score 20. It's just a matter of how much more above that. And with Kevin O'Banner, Jim, he's got to stay on the floor. He's a dangerous player from all three levels when he's able to stay out of foul trouble. But that's a big if because for some reason, he's attracted to situations that he can get a block in, but he misjudges them over and over again, ends up with early fouls. And that will shoot Oral Roberts in the foot in this matchup because I don't think they're going to have RJ Glasper. I think he's still injured. So the thing that people will say about Oral Roberts, and obviously I'm not listening to people, but I hear things, is that Oral Roberts played all these tough Big 12 and SEC teams and American Athletic Conference teams tough in the non-conference, covered 3 or 4 spreads in this point range. Well, I'll say that RJ Glasper was in the lineup for all those games, and without him, that's definitely a big loss. Can Oral Roberts exploit the pick and roll or score in the post versus Ohio State team? If they can do both, then they have a chance. This pick and pop offense that they're running over there, Oral Roberts, is definitely tough to stop because it doesn't give you a lot of time to react. I think that with the poor defense that this Oral Roberts team plays, they got to score an absurd amount of points and have a very hot start offensively to have a chance to cover in this game. And if Kevin O'Banner goes out early, this team plays very differently without him. I think that the X factor for Ohio State is going to be Seth Towns. He's going to be able to show that he can play Big Ten ball. He is strong. He's able to freaking guard without leaving his foot, and he's able to freaking keep his arms away from getting these weak touch fouls. He's a guy that can body a guy down low. And like I said, when you can defend without leaving your feet, it definitely allows you to get better position to get those defensive rebounds. And he's going to have to, So with Ohio State, you're going to need good first half play. You're going to need better second half adjustments. But it's the same thing with Oral Roberts. Defense is going to have to limit the amount of volume that Oral Roberts is going to be able to put up. And you got to stop putting them on the free throw line. There's going to be a lot of opportunities when they're going to the rim. It's going to be a matter of can you step in, take a charge before the Zebras blow the foul the other way. And with Ohio State, if you don't have Kyle Young, it's going to be even more important to score off those second chance opportunities. Try and force more turnovers and listen, draw the bigs out of the paint to open up the lanes and the area to drive for justice. So the only way I can play this game for the show, Jim, and for the odds.com audience, who are great people, is to take the over. It's a big number. You need a lot of points per minute. But with the way that this team plays defense, it's not out of this world that Ohio State scores 100 in this game.
Wow. Very interesting. Well, we have 156.5. We have 156, and we have a couple 155.5s. The 156, though, is at minus 105 towards the over. Would you like over 156 at minus 105, or would you like the 155.5 at minus 110?
No, I'll take the 155.5.
155.5. So that's available at Circa, and it was also available. So Fox Bet has the 156. It must have been BetMGM. Over 155.5 at minus 110 at BetMGM and Circa. We will lock Max up right now. Oral Roberts, Ohio State over 155.5 minus 110. Circa Sports. Great breakdown, Max. Very interesting. We move on.
Jim, actually, I'm sorry to stop you, but
no worries.
You know what? Let's gamble a little. Let's take an additional total. Let's take a plus price on the total.
Let me see what I can offer you here.
I just don't see how this game doesn't get into the 160s. The more I think about it while I'm sitting here talking to you.
So basically they're giving you 10 cents a point. So the 157's minus 105. That's too bad because they've got this line at 156.5. So maybe I should find a different alternative because Bet365 I just went to first. They get the 159.5 at plus 120. Let me see what I can get from FanDuel here. Oh, but they're also 156.5. So what I got to do is I got to go to the 155s. And let me try this here. Totals. Okay, here we go. Alternate totals here. This should be better. Yes, this will be better. So they're giving you plus 110 at 157.5 at BetMGM. So plus 120 at, this is much better, at 158.5. At 159.5 plus 135.
That's the one, Jim.
Wow. So do you want both or just this one?
No, let's just take the one. Let's just take the one.
Over 159.5 at plus 135. Really interesting take, Max. So let's lock that in. Over 159.5 at plus 135. Available at BetMGM. That was fascinating. That was cool. All right,
Jim. What do we know about totals that I've talked about on our videos over and over this year? That the totals, a lot of the time, I've lost track and gave up trying to track it. They finish above or below the closing line by 4 points a lot of the time. So I think that this is no exception.
I love it. Over 159.5 at plus 135, available at BetMGM. Extremely fascinating. We move on, Max. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Number 16 seed Hartford Hawks, 15-8 versus number 1 Baylor Bears, 22-2, Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's see. I've been watching this market move for a little bit. Baylor opening up as 25.5-point favorites. It's moved to 26. This total opened up at 142. It's dropping. It's down to 140 at some books. You can still get 141s at some books as well. Here we go. Hartford finished the season winning 5 straight, which included a win at Vermont in the American East semifinal as 9-point dogs before easily winning the final 64-50 over UMass Lowell. That was a spot Max got us all on. The Hawks rely on 3 players for offense. Senior guards Austin Williams, who averages 13.7 points per game, Tracy Carter, who averages 11.7, and 6'10" Czech Republic native Miroslav Staffel, who averages 10.4, 5.6 boards. All 3 came up big in the playoffs. Hartford scores just 65.9 points per game, but they play strong defense. Offensively, they hit 43.4% from the field, 32.6 from 3, and 71.2 from the foul line. Baylor was running the table before losing twice over their last 6 games. They lost at Kansas on February 27th to show that they weren't invincible. Then in the quarterfinal, they just barely squeaked by Kansas State 74-68 as 20-point favorites. They followed that up by being bounced from the Big 12 tourney by Oklahoma State 83-74 as 9-point favorites. We were on Oklahoma State thanks to Max's guidance there. Baylor is led by 3 high-scoring guards who've played every game, and they've scored 47.4 of their 84.4 points per game. Jared Butler, 17.1, Maceo Teague, 16.2, Davian Mitchell, 14.1. Buoyed by their high-scoring guards as a team, the Bears hit 49.3% from the field, 41.8% from 3. That's beautiful numbers from 3. And 69.7% from the line. Max, here we go. 16 seed versus 1 seed. Hartford, Baylor, South Region.
Jim, this is a Hartford team that, let's be brutally honest, aside from Jason Radowitz and I, probably not a lot of people are very happy. A lot of people wanted Vermont. A lot of people wanted UMBC. I even know some people that messaged me when I was happy about Hartford making it to this tourney. Like, I wanted Stony Brook to play. I'm like, Stony Brook? Really? After they lost all those guys to the transfer portal? No effing way. Well, I'll say this. Hartford, listen, the question is, well, first, can they make enough threes? I think they're going to put up a lot of them. Question is, can they hit more than 30% of them? Because they're going to need to do that against Baylor. Another thing, Moses Flowers. God damn, I wish we had that guy. If Hartford had Moses Flowers to go along with Austin Williams and Tracy Carter, this team would definitely have a much better shot of staying in it. I think that when you look at Hartford, they aren't big at the guard spots. And when you're not big at the guard spots, that's been one of the only exploitable weaknesses of that Baylor defense. If you have big guards, you can take advantage of them. Well, Hartford doesn't have that. Hartford's going to have to stay active, trying to freaking push and chase Baylor's three-point shooters off that line. They're going to have to really maximize and run, I would have to say, every single possession, a pick and roll with Tracy Carter. He is literally their best player. He's one of the best mid-major players that people don't give freaking kudos to. He's top 5 in steals. He's a 39% three-point shooter, like you said, and 75% at the line, With Austin Williams, he's got to be doing some work on the defensive glass. He's undersized, but definitely strong and scrappy enough to go in there. He's a strong driver, a better finisher, and he draws a ton of fouls, I think that definitely the first half is key. You got to keep it close. You got to keep it low scoring. You got to shoot the ball well early or it's going to be over early. And with the free throw line, you got to convert. You cannot be leaving free throws. You cannot be leaving points at the free throw line. Not against this team, not against this offense. So I question what they can really do limiting Baylor on the offensive glass. While Baylor may be undersized, they are not weak when it comes to the offensive rebounding. I think that with Mark Vitale down there, he's a big body. He can give you some rim protection. He's going to get and do work on both ends of the glass. And you know what? If your big man wants to dribble once or twice or 3 times, chances are on that third dribble, it's going to end up in Vitale's hands. It's going to be a transition scoring opportunity for Baylor. I think that with Vitale, he's got to avoid the free throw trouble. He's definitely had some issues there. And I think the X factor for this Baylor team is going to be Adam Flagler. This is not the first time that Coach Drew has gone to the Big South to get key players. Maceo Teague, he came, I believe, from UNC Asheville. Flagler came from Presbyterian. And Flagler, listen, he's the 4th horseman. I don't know if you remember ECW wrestling, but this is Arn Anderson, and Arn Anderson has a dangerous mid-range game. He's deadly from free. He can handle the ball, take you both ways, and if he can get to the rim on the baseline, you are going to end up fouling him, and he's going to end up converting an and one. I think that the key is for Baylor, like anybody else would come to the conclusion, is backcourt scoring. If the backcourt gets going and you get 2 out of the 3 big three hitting 39 or more percent of their three-point shots and converting 80% of their free throws, it's hard to go against Baylor in this spot. But what I do think is that even though this Baylor defense has been a shell of themselves since their COVID layoff, and to my own surprise, Jim, from watching film last night of Baylor, they've abandoned the 1-1-3. So if you have big guards, which Hartford doesn't, you can beat that because you can get to the rim easily. You can freaking straight line it right to the rim. I don't think that Hartford falls into that category, and because of that, I can't take them on the spread. What I will do for the show is I will take them on the under. I think that this is a game where Baylor may get 80, but I don't know if Hartford gets past 57. So I'll take the under 141 if you can get it, and it's good juice.
All right, let's see if I can get it for you. I see 240 and a halves. Let's see if BetMGM can help us here. Pull this up right now. Can they help us here? No, 140 and a half as well. Circa 140. And our final shot here with FoxBet. 141. FoxBet's been good to us. Under 141 minus 110?
You know it, buddy.
Let's grab it. Wow, this is a FoxBet had done nothing for us yesterday. It's doing something for us today. FoxBet locked in under 141 and minus 110. Very, very, very interesting look.
That's like the ladies of the night. Last night they weren't doing anything for me. Today they are.
It's just like that, yeah. Just like the ladies of the night. FoxBet comes through in the clutch. We move on. 7:10 p.m. Eastern. Number 9th seed Wisconsin Badgers 17-12 versus number 8 North Carolina Tar Heels 18-10. We're at Mackey Arena in West Lafayette, Indiana. Ooh, this is going to be a good one and a fun breakdown. Whiskey opens as 2-point dogs. Then they move to 1.5-point dogs. This total opens up at 139 and now 139 and a half. Wisconsin struggled mightily down the stretch, losing 4 of their last 5, 6 of their last 8. They just barely squeaked past Penn State, 75-74 as 5.5-point favorites in the second round of the Big Ten tourney before being bounced by Iowa in the quarters. Senior Dimitri Trice led Wisconsin with 19 points, while fellow senior Micah Potter went for 17 points and 8 boards. They're the only 2 Badgers averaging double digits. With the ball in Trice's hands as much as possible, the Badgers only turn the ball over 8.9 times a game. Impressive. But they struggle with their shot at times, hitting just 42.1% from the field, 35.9% from 3, and they're nice from the foul line, 76.7%. North Carolina got better as the season wore on. They'd won 4 of 5 before losing to Florida State 69-66 in the ACC semifinal. Max talks about how they come on in the second half. Their bigs start wearing down their opponents. Their front court, led by 6'10", 240-pound Armando Bacot, 6'10", 240-pound senior Garrison Brooks, 6'11", 265-pound freshman Dayron Sharp. They began imposing their will on opponents and winning the battle of the boards. It helped balance out their poor shooting as a team that hit 44.1% from the field, 31.7% from 3, and just 66.8% from the stripe. Max, are we back in the Tar Heels here? What's the plan?
Listen, Jim, obviously we got to give some respect to Wisconsin because the last time that these two programs met up in an NCAA tournament game, it was a 79-72 Wisconsin win. They covered the 6-point spread. They went over the 144.5 total. And listen, it's hard to freaking go against it, you know. Wisconsin on paper has the talent, has the experience, has the continuity. But if you've been watching them, and unless you're from the state of Wisconsin, what are you smoking if you take these guys? This is the poorest offensive execution that I've seen from a Wisconsin team in my memory, and I'm a little jaded from my legal cannabis. I think that with Nate Ruvers, Jim, you know, he's playing himself out of his role that he owned. It was solidified. Even when Potter came into the team, it was like, we're going to roll out the Twin Towers. And in the Big Ten, that should have been a conference championship winning formula. But the problem is you're not getting enough from Brad Davison. You're not getting enough from just your depth players, When you look at this roster, they don't have a ton of guys that can create their own shot. There is not a ton of dribble penetration. And obviously, when you don't have those two things, what does it turn into, Jim? It turns into just a lot of missed jump shots. And that's what you're getting with Wisconsin, They need better post defense, and this is just a terrible matchup for them. You got two slow-footed freaking big men. I believe both of them can run the floor, but it's a matter of how long they can run the floor for. I think that with Wisconsin, if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to be less three-point dependent and more three-point accurate. They got to limit their turnovers and have that fantastic ball distribution result in assisted buckets. And listen, there is talent coming through the pipeline for Coach Gard here. Jonathan Davis, I talk about him often when I talk about Wisconsin. He's got to bring his A game for his team to have a shot to win. He's a 38% three-point shooter. He hits 72% of his free throws. He gives you steals. He gives you blocks. He gives you pass deflections. He's a great perimeter defender. He can guard multiple positions. That's the kind of performance that you need in March to show up for you. When you look at Aleem Ford, this is a guy at 6'8", understands this system, has been there, done it before, knows the pressures of March Madness. He's got to be able to slide down low, get to the free throw line, convert those free throws. And listen, he has 44 three-point makes on the year. He's extended his range. He's thinking long-term. And a guy like that could have a big game against this quality of UNC. But the problem is, Jim, when you look at UNC, what usually works well against a team that plays a lot of big men? And sometimes Roy Williams will have three of these guys out with maybe Walker Kessler out there, is pick and roll. The problem with the pick and roll against North Carolina is, well, when you have the athleticism and the footwork of Day'Ron Sharpe and Armando Bacot, you're not going to be able to get that ball to the roller and get a freaking easy look at the bucket. So I just think with UNC, they're doing a fantastic job of changing their style and tempo. They're trying to score before the defense sets. They're playing a fast pace, and they're playing that game that only big guys do over little guys. And as a little guy, I find it highly offensive. They like to play that tip off the glass game, use their size in the post, and force the defense to go over the screens and not under. So I just think that with UNC, a lot of people will be like, yeah, that's why they go under the screens, not because of the big man. Well, the three-point shooting has been better from Leaky Black and freaking RJ Davis and Caleb Love. And, of course, Kerwin Walton, who's the best three-point shooter on the team. So I definitely would have a debate about that. I think that the only weakness for UNC on defense is just giving up jump shots, They're a team that definitely has to get out to a first half lead, but like you said, and like I've pointed out multiple times, this is a very good second half team, so I am willing to take them full game. I think that they're going to dominate with the low post scoring. They're going to make more field goals. They're going to hit enough free throws to cover up the ones that they miss. And listen, with their work on the offensive and defensive glass, can you really bet against them in a tournament situation? I'm not going to. I think that as long as UNC limits their turnover, stays out of scoring droughts, and doesn't fall behind by 10 points or more early, they're winning this game. This is just too short of a number. I would have had North Carolina close to freaking 8.5, 9 points with how Wisconsin is playing. This could be a situation, Jim, where I may even sell a couple points on the spread and take North Carolina 3.5 or 4.
Wow. Well, it's -1.5, -110 right across the board. If we wanted to start selling, we could get North Carolina -3.5 at +120.
Sorry, I almost just knocked over my apple juice. That would have been bad. Let's gamble, bud. Let's gamble. Let's take that 3.5. Let's take that 3.5.
So the 3.5's 120. The threes plus 110. 3.5 plus 120. 4 plus 125.
Actually, let's take the 3 plus 110.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, let's take the 3 plus 110.
Very exciting North. Oh, you know what? Let's just see very quickly if I could just. BetMGM really came through the last time we were selling. Let's just quickly see if I can get you any more here. We have -3 plus 115.
Sounds better to me, bud.
Yeah, let's grab it. Okay, and let's remember that moving forward that BetMGM giving us a little more. -3 at plus 115. Available at BetMGM. Selling points. Our man Maxwell Smart. That's how confident he is. North Carolina Tar Heels -3 plus 115 at BetMGM. We move on to 7:25 p.m. Eastern. Number 13 seed North Texas Mean Green 17-9 versus number 4 Purdue Boilermakers 18-9 on the season. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's see what we have here. Purdue opening up as 8-point favorites. That's moved to 7.5. A couple books are now hanging at 7. The total opened up at 126.5. We see a 127 on the board, but the leading indicator book has brought it down to 125.5. North Texas went into the Conference USA tournament losers of 3 straight and came out winners of 4 straight with a ticket to the NCAA tourney. Led by do-it-all senior guard Javian Hamlet, North Texas defeated Middle Tennessee, Old Dominion, La Tech, and Western Kentucky in 4 days to capture the title. Hamlet scored 20 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, played all 45 minutes in the championship game overtime win over Western Kentucky. On the season, he leads the team, averaging 15 points, 4.5 assists, 3.3 boards. We were on Western Kentucky on the money line, and it was a
brutal loss.
North Texas went up to a 17-0 lead. Had a big lead at the half, and then here came our Western Kentucky was up 5 points, right, in the final minute, Max?
Yes, and then they blew that, and then blew it even worse in overtime. It's like when you go into the champagne room, and you're a little too quick.
James Reese, Zachary Simmons, and Thomas Bell all help out offensively, averaging double digits. Mean Green averaged 69.8 points per game. They shoot the ball well, 47.5% from the field, 37.6 from 3, and 73.4 from the line. Purdue had their 5-game winning streak snapped in a very tough 87-78 overtime loss in the Big Ten quarterfinals. So Max took it right in the old bottom mouth with both of these plays because he had Purdue, and I believe you had them, plus 1.5 or plus a short number, and no, it was more than that, wasn't it? It's plus 3. I can't remember.
No, it's plus 1.5.
Plus 1.5, and went to overtime, and they lose by 9.
Also, another miraculous comeback.
It was.
I was scaring Oliver.
Yeah, I thought you had it in the bag. Travion Williams finished with 26 points, 14 boards, 5 assists. What a game. Leads the team averaging 15.69 boards on the season. Jaden Ivey had 19 points. He's the only other Boilermaker averaging double digits at 10.5. Purdue was down 18 after the first half. Battled all the way back to take the lead. The Boilermaker streak of holding opponents to 72 or fewer points ended at 15. That's impressive. Offensively, they averaged 71.1 points per game, hit 45.1% from the field, 33.5 from 3, 71.1% from the stripe. Very interesting spot here. 7:25 p.m. Eastern, South Region, North Texas, Purdue Boilermakers. Take it away, Max.
Yeah, listen, Jim, at first glance, it's hard not to like North Texas at the number. With Javion Hamlet, he's versatile. He cuts up the defense. He's definitely able to take you off the dribble to either side. And he's another guy with ice in his veins, and I learned that the hard way. I think that he's a consistent 15-plus point per game scorer. He's done that in 8 of the last 10 games, and he crashes the glass. You know, he has a bit of a turnover issue with 4 more in the last 10 games, so you definitely want to be aware of that. But he is a minute eater. He rarely leaves the floor, and he doesn't pick up cheap fouls. With Thomas Bell, this is the X factor for North Texas that you're going to need to step up. With his size, length, and three-point shooting, he's got to get hot because he's been cold lately. If he doesn't make himself a liability with unnecessary turnovers and does a good job of being a catch and shoot kind of guy, he's going to be dangerous. He's hard to handle on the boards regardless. So he does try and make an impact on the defensive end. He's definitely a guy that you're going to see give some help defense. He's going to end up with some blocks on the stat sheet. And they just need a strong first half. They're a team that are well coached. They make good second half adjustments. And unfortunately, you're going to have to make really good ones because one of Purdue's strengths is second half adjustments and coming out strong after the half. We just saw an example of that against Ohio State. With North Texas, though, Jim, they got to score more than 65 points. This is a team that wants to limit their opponent's shot attempts. They want to play a slow tempo, a game that gets into like the hundreds, 115 type range. But if North Texas leaves points at the free throw line in the first half and early versus Purdue, it could be the deciding factor. They have to win the turnover battle, and they really haven't been very profitable at this number on the spread. They're a pick and roll half-court team. They're going to throw and run the offense through the post, through Zachary Simmons at times, but Javion Hamlet's going to have to space the floor and open up those lanes to the rim for guys like freaking Martez McBride and obviously for himself. I think with Purdue, you nailed it. Trev's the man right now. He's confident. He's loud. He's commanding the ball on every possession. His offensive glass work is just impeccable for a guy that doesn't really have the best hops and still is a bit undersized. I think that with his multiple post moves and his awesome footwork down low and his ability to hit free throws, I don't know how you stop him, I think that he's capable of having a big game or really coming up as a dud. We've seen that through the game logs. In games that he scores 20 plus or more, Purdue usually doesn't win that game. So theoretically, you do want a balanced scoring effort. You want other guys beating North Texas and not having to rely on Trev. So I think that with that line going through, with that thought in process, I'll say this. Sorry, Jim.
It's okay, buddy.
Zach Edey is a tall son of a bitch. He's 7'4". He is a exploitable piece of your rotation that you have to give more than 17 to 19 minutes to. I literally can't even get the words out when I think about this because I get so frustrated. Matt Painter, you were smart enough to go to Toronto and recruit this guy. You were smart enough to bring a Canadian onto your roster. You have a unstoppable guy with strong hands, good footwork, understands his offensive limitations, and when he gets to the free throw line, he's going to convert for you. So Zach Edey's the X factor for me. He's had 10 or more points in 6 out of the last 10 games. He needs more minutes. He's got to turn it on. He's got to be able to do a good job of not turning it over on the low block, go up strong, get fouled, use those hard hands, and establish your dominance down low. You got a game plan, which is draw fouls on a thin front court. If Simmons goes out with foul trouble, I don't see how North Texas really stops anything that Purdue wants to do down low. They're post heavy. The emergence of Jaden Ivey in that 3-point shot that we saw come out most recently in the Ohio State game is definitely capable of being a difference maker. I just think that they're going to be able to continuously defend ball screens, stop dribble drive offense, and get Eric Hunter to lock down Hamlet. I see Purdue winning this game. I think that if I have to take them, I look at them in the first half. But right now, this is a spot where I don't really want to make a play on the spread. I think that the only play that I want to make is take the under. I want that under 127, Jim. I want it bad.
Well, let's get that for you. By the way, we're using 5 books here of the legal licensed American books. 4 of them had 7.5. 1 had the 7, that being circa. The total here, 126 at FoxBet. Let's do this as quick as possible here. 126.5 at circa. So we have that hook there. We have 126.5 at FanDuel. We have 126.5 at Bet365. And then BetMGM, can they give us a 120? Oh, that's Fox Bet again, sorry. And BetMGM give us a 127. No, 126.5. So 120 under 126.5 and minus 110, Max?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's lock that in. Under 126.5 at minus 110 available at FanDuel. There we go, Max. We move on to the final game in the South region. This is all taking place Friday evening, 9:57 p.m. Eastern. This one is a beauty. Number 12 seed Winthrop Eagles, 23-1 on the year. First, number 5 Villanova Wildcats, 16-6. We're at Indiana Farmers Coliseum in Indianapolis, Indiana. Let's get this market up, shall we? Villanova opening up as 6.5-point favorites, and that's where it stands. No movement. This total opened up at 140. We've seen that go up 1.5 points. Winthrop lost just one game all season. January 29th to UNC Asheville, 57-55. Other than that, it was dominance. They won their 3 Big South tournament games by an average of 25.7 points. They won the final 80-53 over Campbell in a game where they shot 62.7% from the field. They have 11 players that average double-digit minutes. They're led by do-everything senior guard Chandler Vaudrin, 12.2 points, 7.2 boards, 6.9 assists. We've talked about him often here on the show. Adonis Arms, Charles Fowden, and DJ Burns Jr. also average double-digit points. They score 79.5 points per game, hit 46.1% from the field, 35.3% from 3. And if you want to say that there's one flaw, they hit 68.6 from the stripe. Villanova was dealt a crushing blow when they lost senior guard Connor Gillespie to a season-ending injury 2 weeks ago. They played 2 games without him, lost them both, 54-52 at Providence and 72-71 to Georgetown in the Big East quarterfinal. That loss does look a little better now that Georgetown ran the table all the way to the championship. Leading scorer Jeremiah Robinson-Earl went for 26.6 boards in that game against Georgetown. He needs to step up. He averages 15.7 points, 8.3 boards on the season. Senior Jermaine Samuels has stepped up too, 41 points in those 2 games. Gillespie, 20.7 boards, 4 assists against Georgetown. In that game, Jeremiah Robinson-Earl went for 26, Jermaine Samuels went for 20. The other 3 starters scored 6 points between them. Max, how much trouble are Villanova in? Do they get bounced first round by Winthrop?
I think that Villanova definitely should be on upset alert, but by the fact that this line hasn't moved, definitely gives me the impression that Villanova may be a little more game than we're giving them credit for. I think that it's undeniable to say that without Colin Gillespie in this 4-out, 1-in offense, that they're better. They're just not. Archie Diacono is not his brother. Justin Moore is working through some injuries himself. And listen, it's going to come down to Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, Jim. I think that with him, he's got to get that high post scoring going. And he's got to be able to also do some work at covering up at the rim. You got to close up those gaps against this freaking Winthrop team because they will crash right through it like a rhino through a wall. I think that when you look at Nova, their best game plan is to slow the tempo as much as they can versus Winthrop with a ton of traps. You got to just zone trap this team. When this team wants to run, you got to freaking let them run into a trap and hopefully force a turnover. I think that with Winthrop, they're going to definitely have a problem matching up with Jeremiah Robinson-Earl. Obviously, DJ Burns is going to get the first go at him, but I think that that's going to be a bad matchup for him. With Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, he's going to need a 25-10 type game. He's got to limit his own turnovers. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. And you know what? With his face-up offense, you know, it can be pretty dominant. He can score in the low post with his back to the bucket also. But if he isn't commanding the ball and he isn't utilizing all that space that Jay Wright plans and gives him in that offense, then they just are going to be flawed. They're not going to be able to take care of business. Obviously, with Jermaine Samuels, he stepped up. The three-point shot's been great. His length and versatility is definitely noticed. And with his ability to steal the ball, with his ability to stack on defense. This is a guy that uses his length wisely, attacks the glass, does a good job boxing out, and his court vision and all ball IQ is definitely top notch. He wants the spotlight. This is the opportunity that he's been looking for, and if he has one of those big games where he hits 5 to 7 threes and gives you 30 points, it's going to be tough for Winthrop to stay in this game for 40 minutes. I think that Winthrop, when you look at them, they're a first-half team. They're very dominant in the first half. I think that when we've seen them lined as an underdog, I believe that they've covered all 3 times that they've been a dog. I think they won all 3 also. I have to double-check the game log. But from an offensive perspective, even though against Big South competition, Winthrop is better, makes more field goals, hits more threes, makes more free throws, even though they do have a poor percentage. They're a volume free throw shooting team with the amount that they get to the rim. This is definitely a huge step up in class, but if they move the ball and limit their silly turnovers, they're definitely a good team. They play a form of pack line defense. They close out really well on jump shooters at the top of the circle where Jermaine Samuel, where Caleb Daniels wants to shoot the ball. And listen, they're going to push off every miss. So if you don't get back on defense, they're going to get a lot of easy layups. And with Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, you're going to definitely have to bring a couple guys off the bench to try and match up against him. I think that with the post defense of Winthrop, they're going to get beat down there. But as long as this team can score more than 65, they're going to be in this game, and this game is going to go over. I had this game lined at 145.5, so I'm definitely taking the over, Jim. And I'm going to be looking at Winthrop in the first half. I think that they can go into the half with a first half lead if they make shots and don't go 3 for 20 from 3, if they make their free throws, if they get around 65 to 70 field goal attempts, and they play a super fast pace. We saw them slow it down in conference. Well, now it's time to speed it up because you're going up against a skilled, better coached team than you are. And you really haven't had that for a couple months. So I'll take Winthrop first half at whatever number you can get me, and I'll take the over full game.
We have a 142 and 4 141.5 to minus 110. So we'll start that. Over 141.5 minus 110.
Yep, that works for me.
Over 141.5 at minus 110, available at FanDuel. And now let's shop first halves for our Maxwell Smart here. Let's see what we can give. We're going to start at FanDuel. FanDuel offering us a plus 3.5 at minus 110. Can we beat that? Same at Bet365. MGM, you've been good to us. Can you continue that? First half. Same, plus 3.5, minus 110. And FoxBet. Close up shop on you. Oh, they haven't been giving up first half spreads. And let's see if they are now. No, they're still not. Okay. Max, plus 3.5, minus 110.
Yeah, that works for me, Jim.
Winthrop, first half, plus 3.5, minus 110, available at FanDuel. What an interesting card here in the South. Max, let's review your action. Make sure that I did everything right. You start with Virginia Tech, first half, plus a half at minus 110. Then you stay off Colgate, Arkansas at this point. Then you have Texas Tech Red Raiders minus 4.5 at minus 110. You have the over 159.5 at plus 135 in Oral Roberts, Ohio State. You have the under 141 at minus 110 in Hartford, Baylor. You have North Carolina Tar Heels minus 3 at plus 115. You have Purdue, North Texas under 126.5 at minus 110. And then you have Winthrop, first half plus 3.5 minus 110, and the over 141.5 at minus 110. Does that all sound right?
Yes, sir, it does.
Max, this is your time of year, and it's so much fun sharing it with you. We did the West and the South today. Tomorrow, we start off with the Midwest, and I can't wait to break that down with you. Max, your card is looking pretty good, my man. Do you have any last words for the cappers supporting the show, whom we're very thankful for?
Yeah, listen, Jim, I think that I always pass off very good advice at the end of these shows, and this one is going to be no different. I think that when you think about balloons, you usually think about putting water in them. Well, I have something else that you can put in them. It's called barbecue sauce. Don't put it on your chicken tenders, put it in balloons, and throw them out the windows at joggers, because you know what? I don't care that you're jogging. Oh, you're so skinny. Oh, you haven't been sitting at a computer for months betting on sports every day. Well, I got a new weapon. I need to eat those potatoes. So I'm taking the barbecue sauce, I'm filling them up in a balloon, and I'm tossing them out my 13th floor window. That's how I'm doing it. You should too.
You're a good man, Max, and our society thanks you. On behalf of Maxwell Smart and myself and everybody at odds.com, fill those balloons up with barbecue sauce and get paid in full.